I am Natalie, and this is the story of how I survived the worst night of my life, only to discover that even the deepest pain can become the foundation for something beautiful. If you have ever felt abandoned, judged, or broken, stay with me. What happened next changed everything. The delivery room was chaos. Machines beeped frantically around me, and nurses rushed in and out with worried faces. I gripped the bed rails so hard my knuckles turned white. Sweat mixed with tears on my face as another contraction ripped through me. Dr. Michael stood beside me, his calm voice cutting through the noise. "You're doing great, Natalie. Just breathe." Then everything went silent. The monitors flatlined. The nurses stopped moving. Dr. Michael's face fell, and he squeezed my hand. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "There's no heartbeat." My world shattered in that moment. I screamed, but no sound came out. My baby boy, the one I had talked to for 9 months, was gone. And my parents, who I had called hours earlier, were nowhere to be found. Dr. Michael stayed by my side, his hand never letting go of mine. "You're not alone," he said quietly. Those 3 words were the only thing keeping me from drowning. 6 months earlier, everything was different. I was 18, a senior in high school with dreams of becoming a teacher. My parents, Thomas and Patricia, were strict but loving. Or so I thought. I remember the day I took the pregnancy test, hiding in the bathroom at school during lunch break. My hands shook as I watched the 2 pink lines appear. My heart dropped. I stuffed the test deep into my backpack and went through the rest of the day in a fog. That evening, I was in my room trying to figure out what to do when I heard my mother's footsteps in the hallway. I quickly shoved the test under my pillow. My door opened. "Natalie, dinner's ready," she said, then paused. Her eyes locked onto something on my desk. The pregnancy test box. I had forgotten to hide it. Her face went pale. "What is that?" The explosion was immediate. My mother screamed for my father. Within minutes, both of them stood in my doorway, their faces twisted with rage and disgust. "How could you do this to us?" my father shouted. "Do you know what people will say? What the church will think?" I tried to explain, to apologize, but nothing I said mattered. My mother's words cut the deepest. "We raised you better than this, Natalie. You've destroyed our reputation." They gave me 1 hour to pack my things. 1 hour to leave the only home I had ever known. I stuffed clothes into a duffel bag, tears blurring my vision. As I walked down the stairs for the last time, my father stood by the door, arms crossed. "Don't come back until you've fixed this mess." I stepped into the cold night air, clutching my bag in my belly. Rain began to fall as I whispered to my unborn baby, "I'll survive this. For you." His name was Kyle. He was 19, charming, and full of promises. When I first told him about the pregnancy, he held me close. "Don't worry, Natalie. I'll take care of you. We'll figure this out together." For a few weeks, he kept his word. He helped me find a tiny room to rent and brought me groceries. I believed him when he said we would be okay. Then his mother, Victoria, found out. She stormed into my small room one afternoon, her face red with fury. She looked at me like I was dirt. "You think you can trap my son with this?" she hissed. Before I could respond, she slapped me hard across the face. "Kyle has a future. College. A real life. My son will not ruin everything for a girl like you." She left, slamming the door behind her. That night, Kyle sent me a text. Just 3 words. "I'm sorry, Natalie." He never called again. I was truly alone then. My small savings ran out quickly. Rent was due, and I had no way to pay it. I picked up shifts at a nearby diner, but my pregnancy made everything harder. I was tired all the time, my feet swelled, and some days I could barely stand. One evening, after a long shift, I walked back to my room above the old grocery store. The stairs felt like mountains. Halfway up, a sharp pain stabbed through my abdomen. I gasped and grabbed the railing. Then I felt it. Wetness running down my legs. Blood. I screamed. My neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Garcia, heard me and rushed out. She called an ambulance immediately. As I lay on the floor, clutching my stomach, all I could think was, please don't take my baby. He's all I have left. The hospital was bright and sterile. Doctors and nurses moved around me quickly, checking monitors and asking questions I barely heard. Through the chaos, one voice remained calm. You're going to be okay. Just stay with me. I looked up and saw him for the first time. Dr. Michael. He had kind eyes and steady hands. He worked quickly, giving orders to the nurses while explaining everything to me in a gentle voice. You had a partial placental abruption, he said later, after the danger had passed. But your baby is stable now. You both made it. I started crying, overwhelmed with relief and exhaustion. He sat beside my bed and handed me a tissue. You remind me of someone I lost, he said softly, then stood and left before I could ask what he meant. That night, lying in the hospital bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. After I was discharged, I found out the hospital was hiring for part-time cafeteria staff. I needed the money desperately, so I applied and got the job. The work was simple, serving food and cleaning tables, but it was close to the maternity ward. Sometimes, when my shift ended, would see Dr. Michael walking through the halls. He always stopped to check on me. How are you feeling today, Natalie? He would ask. We started having short conversations, nothing deep, but his kindness meant everything. One evening, I overheard two nurses talking near the supply closet. That's the doctor who lost his wife and child in a car accident, one of them whispered. He was supposed to be in the car too, but he got called into surgery. He blames himself. My heart broke for him. No wonder his eyes sometimes looked so sad. As my due date got closer, I tried to prepare. I bought tiny baby clothes from thrift stores with the little money I saved. A blue onesie with elephants. A soft blanket. A small stuffed bear. I arranged them carefully in my room, imagining the day I would bring my son home. One afternoon, sitting alone in my room, I picked up my phone. I stared at my parents' contact names for a long time before finally typing a message. I'm due in 2 weeks. It's a boy. I thought you'd want to know. I hit send and waited. Hours passed. Then days. No reply. My due date came and went. Then, one night, the contractions started. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and called for an ambulance. As I was wheeled into the hospital, I looked around the waiting room, hoping somehow my parents would be there. They weren't. I was completely alone. The labor lasted 12 hours. 12 hours of pain that I thought would end with joy. But when Dr. Michael finally told me to push, when I gave everything I had left, the room went silent. There was no cry. No sound at all. I'm sorry, Natalie, Dr. Michael said, his voice breaking. There's no heartbeat. Your baby is gone. I felt my soul leave my body. I screamed until my throat was raw. I begged them to fix it, to do something, anything. But there was nothing they could do. My baby boy was stillborn. Hours later, my parents finally arrived. They stood in the doorway, uncomfortable and distant. My mother spoke first. This is why we warned you, Natalie. This is what happens when you make foolish choices. Those were the first words they said to me after my baby died. Then they left. But Dr. Michael stayed. He pulled a chair beside my bed and sat with me through the darkest hours of my life. The days after were a blur. I barely ate or slept. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside me. Dr. Michael checked on me every day, even though he wasn't my assigned doctor anymore. He brought me food from the cafeteria and sat with me in silence when words felt impossible. One afternoon, he handed me a sealed envelope. "When you're ready," he said, "open this. Not now. But when you feel strong enough to look forward." I took the envelope but didn't open it. I couldn't imagine ever feeling strong again. I was discharged a week later. Walking out of the hospital without my baby felt wrong. I returned to my tiny room and stared at the baby clothes I had bought. I couldn't bring myself to throw them away. For weeks, I just existed. I went to work, came home, and cried myself to sleep. Then one day, I remembered the envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter and an application form. The letter was handwritten in neat script. "Natalie, pain has a way of either breaking us or rebuilding us into something stronger. I believe you have the strength to help others the way you needed help. This scholarship is for you, if you choose to take it. You would make an excellent nurse. Dr. Michael." The application was for nursing school, and attached was a full scholarship. Paid tuition, books, everything. I sat on my bed, tears streaming down my face. For the first time since losing my baby, I felt something other than grief. I felt purpose. I filled out the application that night. 2 weeks later, I received my acceptance letter. I was going to become a nurse. I was going to help mothers like me, so they would never feel alone. Nursing school was harder than I expected. The classes were intense, and the clinical rotations were exhausting. But I threw myself into it completely. Every time I wanted to quit, I thought about my son. About Dr. Michael's kindness. About all the women who would need someone to care for them the way I had been cared for. I was doing well until one day in the cafeteria. A group of students sat at the table behind me, talking loudly. "Did you hear about Natalie?" one girl said. "She's that girl who got pregnant in high school and lost the baby. Can you imagine? What was she thinking?" My face burned. I wanted to disappear. I gathered my things and left quickly, tears threatening to spill. I found an empty stairwell and sat down, hugging my knees. That's where Dr. Michael found me. He sat beside me without a word. Finally, he spoke. "Never let their shame define you, Natalie. Your story is yours. Own it." After that day, I decided I wouldn't hide anymore. When people whispered, I held my head high. When classmates asked nosy questions, I answered honestly. Yes, I lost my baby. And yes, that's why I'm here. To make sure other women don't suffer alone. Slowly, the whispers stopped. Some students even started coming to me for advice or support. I became known as someone who cared deeply, someone who understood pain. My grades climbed to the top of my class. I specialized every chance I got, focusing on obstetrics and maternal care. I read everything I could about high-risk pregnancies, stillbirths, and grief counseling. I wanted to be the nurse I had needed. By my final year, I had already been offered 3 job positions. But only one mattered to me. A letter arrived one spring morning. It was from the same hospital where I had lost my baby. They wanted me to join their maternity ward. My hands shook as I read it. Going back there would be the hardest thing I had ever done. But I knew it was where I belonged. My first day back at the hospital felt surreal. The hallways smelled exactly the same, like disinfectant and clean sheets. I wore my new scrubs with my name embroidered on the pocket. Natalie Torres, RN. Dr. Michael met me in the staff room. His face lit up when he saw me. "I knew you'd come back," he said, shaking my hand. "Welcome home, Natalie." The maternity ward was busy. Babies crying, mothers laughing, families celebrating. It was beautiful and painful all at once. During my lunch break, I walked past the delivery rooms. Room 304. The number was etched into my memory. That was where I had given birth. Where I had lost my son. I stood outside the door for a long time, frozen. A nurse passing by touched my shoulder gently. "You okay, hon?" I nodded and walked away quickly. But I knew I would have to face that room eventually. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to carry the weight. 2 months into my new job, a young girl was admitted. She was 16, pregnant, and terrified. Her chart said she had been kicked out by her family. No support system. No one listed as an emergency contact. When I walked into her room, she was curled up on the bed, crying softly. I sat down beside her and took her hand. "Hi," I said gently. "I'm Natalie. And I want you to know, you're not alone." She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "My mom threw me out," she whispered. "She said I'm an embarrassment." My heart shattered. I squeezed her hand. I know exactly how that feels. I stayed with her through her entire labor. 17 hours. I held her hand, wiped her forehead, and told her she was strong. When her baby girl was born, healthy and screaming, the girl started sobbing. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for staying. Always," I promised. "You are not your mistakes. You are brave, and you are enough." A visitor at the hospital that day recorded part of my conversation with the teenage mother. I didn't know until days later when my phone started blowing up. Someone had posted the video online. Within 24 hours, it had millions of views. Comments poured in from people all over the world. "This nurse is an angel. We need more people like her. Her words saved my life." News outlets picked it up. Local stations wanted interviews. A national morning show reached out. I was overwhelmed. I had never wanted attention. I just wanted to help. But Dr. Michael encouraged me. "Your story can give hope to so many people, Natalie. Don't hide your light." So I agreed to one interview. I sat in front of cameras and told my story. About getting pregnant at 18. About being abandoned. About losing my son. About finding purpose in the pain. The response was even bigger. My social media filled with messages from women sharing their own stories. Mothers who had lost babies. Teens who had been kicked out. Women who felt alone. I answered as many as I could. Then one message stood out. It was from my mother. The message was short. "Natalie, I saw you on television. People are talking about you everywhere. Your father and we need to talk." I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. They had abandoned me when I needed them most. Why should I respond now? But another part of me, the part that had learned forgiveness through my own healing, knew I had to face them eventually. I called. My mother answered on the second ring. "Natalie," she said, her voice shaky. "Your father and we've been watching everything. We saw the interview. We didn't know what?" I interrupted. "That I survived. That I built a life without you." Silence. Then my father's voice came on the line. "We were wrong, Natalie. We see that now. We'd like to see you." I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. "I'll think about it," I said, and hung up. I wasn't ready to forgive yet. But maybe, someday, I could be. A month later, I received an award. The hospital was hosting a ceremony to honor healthcare workers who had gone above and beyond. Dr. Michael had nominated me. The auditorium was packed with doctors, nurses, families, and community members. When they called my name, I walked to the stage on shaking legs. The director handed me a plaque and asked if I wanted to say a few words. I looked out at the crowd, took a breath, and spoke from my heart. "This award means everything to me. But it's not mine alone. It belongs to every woman who has felt invisible, every mother who has grieved, and every person who chose to show up for someone in pain. I dedicate this to my son. The baby boy I never got to hold. He changed my life in ways I never imagined." The room erupted in applause. As I stepped off the stage, I saw Dr. Michael in the front row. Tears streamed down his face. He stood and clapped louder than anyone else. That night, everything changed again. After the ceremony, Dr. Michael asked me to stay behind. We sat in the empty auditorium, just the two of us. "There's something I need to tell you," he began. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." I waited, confused. He took a deep breath. "When your son was born, he was stillborn. But his heart. Natalie, his heart was viable. You gave permission for organ donation in your paperwork. You probably don't even remember signing it, you were in so much pain." I felt my chest tighten. "What are you saying?" "Your son's heart saved another baby's life. A newborn who was in critical condition. That baby is alive today because of your son." I couldn't breathe. My baby's heart was still beating. Not in his body, but in someone else's. Somewhere, a child was alive because my son had existed. Tears poured down my face. Where is this child?" Dr. Michael smiled gently. "His name is Lucas. And his family has been hoping to meet you." The meeting was arranged for the following week. I was a nervous wreck. What do you say to the family whose child lives because yours died? What do you feel? The family met me in a private room at the hospital. A couple in their 30s walked in, holding the hand of a small boy. He was 4 years old, with curly brown hair and bright eyes. He looked healthy. Strong. His mother's eyes filled with tears when she saw me. "Natalie," she whispered. "Thank you. Thank you for giving us our son." I knelt down to the little boy's level. "Hi, Lucas." He smiled shyly. "My mommy says you're special. She says you helped save me." I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling my own heartbeat. Somewhere inside this little boy, my son's heart was beating too. "You're the special one," I whispered. Then his father spoke. "There's something else you should know." He glanced at his wife nervously. "We're not Lucas's biological parents. We adopted him after his birth mother passed away. The adoption was finalized through a private agency. The birth mother's name was Victoria." The room spun. Victoria. Kyle's mother. The woman who had slapped me and called me worthless. I looked at Lucas's adoptive parents, trying to process what they were telling me. "Victoria died 2 years ago," the father explained gently. "Cancer. Before she passed, she told us about the baby she gave up years ago. She was young, scared, and her parents forced her to give him up for adoption. Lucas was that baby." My mind raced. Kyle's mother had given up her own child once. And then she had turned around and done the same thing to me. The cruelty made sense now. She was reliving her own pain, her own shame, through me. "We had no idea about you until recently," the mother said. "Not until we saw you on television. When we heard your story, we realized. Lucas has your son's heart. And his biological grandmother was the woman who hurt you." The irony was almost too much. The woman who had destroyed my life had also, unknowingly, been connected to saving another. Life was more complicated than I ever imagined. A week after meeting Lucas, I received another message. This time from Kyle. "Natalie, I saw everything online. I know what my mother did. I know what I did. I'm so sorry. Can we please talk?" I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. When he walked in, he looked different. Older. Tired. We sat across from each other in awkward silence. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he started. "I was a coward. I abandoned you when you needed me most. I listened to my mother instead of standing by you." I stirred my coffee slowly. "You broke me, Kyle. You and your mother both." He nodded, tears forming. "I know. And I've had to live with that. When my mother got sick, she told me the truth about her past. About the baby she gave up. She said she saw herself in you, and it terrified her. She took her pain out on you, and I let her. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He was sorry. I could see that. But sorry didn't erase the past. I forgive you, I said finally. Not because you deserve it. But because I deserve peace. Kyle left that day, and I never saw him again. But the conversation gave me closure I didn't know I needed. Forgiving him didn't mean forgetting. It meant releasing the hold that anger had on my heart. Months passed. My work at the hospital continued. I became known as the nurse who never gave up on her patients, especially the ones everyone else overlooked. Young mothers. Addicts. Homeless women. I saw myself in all of them. One afternoon, I was leaving the hospital when I noticed two people sitting in the waiting area. My parents. They stood when they saw me. My mother looked older, smaller somehow. My father's shoulders were slumped. We've been coming here every week, my mother said. Sitting in the back during your shifts. Watching you work. We didn't want to disturb you. My father spoke next, his voice rough. We were wrong, Natalie. We failed you when you needed us most. We let pride and fear destroy our family. We're so sorry. I had imagined this moment for years. In my mind, I had screamed at them, told them how much they hurt me. But standing there now, I just felt tired. I'm not ready to let you back in yet, I said honestly. But maybe, someday. Time is strange. It heals some wounds and deepens others. Over the next year, my parents and I slowly rebuilt something. It wasn't the relationship we had before. It was different. Smaller. More careful. But it was real. They came to the hospital for coffee sometimes. My mother started volunteering in the maternity ward, folding blankets and rocking babies whose mothers needed rest. My father donated money to support teen mothers. They were trying, in their own way, to make up for what they had done. One day, I invited them to my apartment. I had moved into a bigger place, one with a second bedroom. Inside that room, I had created a small memorial. Pictures of ultrasounds. The baby clothes I had bought. A tiny pair of booties. And in the center, a photograph Dr. Michael had taken in the delivery room. My son. Small and still, but beautiful. I placed that photograph on my parents' mantle that day. His name was Gabriel, I told them. And he mattered. My mother cried. My father held her. And for the first time, we grieved together. 5 years have passed since that terrible night in the delivery room. I'm 23 now, and my life looks nothing like I imagined. I run a foundation called the Gabriel Hope Foundation. We provide housing, medical care, and emotional support for young mothers who have been abandoned by their families. We've helped over 200 women so far. Dr. Michael sits on the board of directors. Lucas and his family visit often, and he calls me Aunt Natalie. My parents volunteer every week, trying to give other girls the support they failed to give me. And me? I wake up every day knowing my son's short life had meaning. He taught me that love doesn't end with death. That pain can become purpose. That even in the darkest moments, we are never truly alone. They left me when I was broken. But I learned that when life takes something from you, it often gives you something far greater. It gives you the chance to become who you were always meant to be. I am Natalie. I am a survivor. I am a nurse. I am a mother who never got to hold her son. And I am enough. If this story touched you, please subscribe and share it. And remember, your pain does not define you. Your response to it does.